I want to start with a poem of Walt Whitman. I will read it for you. There was a child went forth every day, and the first object he looked upon and received with wonder or pity or love or dread, that object he became. And that object became part of him, for the day or a certain part of the day, or for many years, or stretching cycles of years. The early lilacs became part of this child, and grass and white and red morning glories, and white and red clover, and the song of the phoebe bird, and the March-born lambs, and the sow's pink faint litter, and the mare's foal, and the cow's calf. The poem is a little bit longer, but I stop here. What can we learn from Walt Whitman concerning connectedness and reconnecting children to nature? Walt Whitman poetically voiced a reality which today has been discovered by brain scientists, that it's most important for children to have meaningful experience in their life. When children have meaningful experiences in their lives, there will be more connections between different parts in their brains. And it only works for experiences which are meaningful. And as also Professor Fuchs told, meaningful for children means there must be some kind of, the body must be involved and others must be involved. So the essence of the farm school is that we are an initiative who was created by parents of a Waldorf school, and we're based on real life learning through meaningful experiences in everyday life and relationship based learning. We do this at farm school. Is a farm nearby a school, and we work with over 45 schools in Holland and Flanders. And when the school comes to us because they want some outdoor education and farm-based education, we are looking for a farm in the vicinity of the school. So there's not just one farm, there's different farms in the vicinities of schools. We found out that a farm is the most richest environment we can imagine. And I invite everyone who can name me a learning environment that is more rich to tell me about it, because then I immediately would quit the Farm School Foundation and start a new foundation for a richer environment. What's most important for us is that we work in an authentic environment. So we work with farmers. We don't work with teachers. And the most important part is that we want the farmers to be authentic, so they don't have to act like teachers. They can be themselves, the farmers and the farmer's wife, and they may act normal as they normally do. Our aim is to connect children on the one hand with themselves, and on the other hand with others, with the environment, and we say with the life as a whole. When we started the Farm School Foundation, we had one goal in mind, and that's that we want to enliven education. We just started the farm school as a parent. I was one of the parents. I had a young daughter at the age of 8 who was very happy going to school, but during the week her energy level deceased. So it was, for us, we were busy in the weekends to heighten the energy level, and we did it by going out, by hiking, wandering, going to nature, going to farms. And then she got a higher level and she went back to school. So when she was 8, we thought that this is ridiculous that we do it. So we had a talk with the teacher and I spontaneously mentioned, why don't we go to a farm on Fridays? Because that was the birthday for her. But a lot of parents were enthusiastic, and so we started 12 years ago. What's important to know that in Holland there are a lot of different school systems based on different theories and pedagogies. And in Holland we had a goal to reach a lot of children. not only over the school, the Steiner school, where parents, but also other children. So we had to find a language that that would be suitable for all kinds of school types, and it's all primary schools. So one of the things we thought is important is that all activity focus on both personality in the sense of individual development of talents and abilities, and on the other hand on connectedness. We then framed it the name slow education. It's like slow food, the slow food movement. What we saw in lives of the children and the parents is that we live as a sort of a fast food culture. Children are overactive in their lives. Our whole school system, even at the Steiner school, is fragmented. All different kind of study. They got language, they got math, they got gymnastics, they got biology, but life can't be divided. And we think it is important to base an educational system upon trust. One of our ideas we spread is that we think that every child is a genius. And we think it's important that you build up an educational system. And it's one of the premises is that we think it's impossible for children not to learn. So whatever children will do, they will learn. And through the senses, the child connects with the surrounding world. So that's very important that we give them the opportunity to use their senses. We're also very happy that everyone, me included and you included, is imperfect. And we don't need to be perfect. We may be imperfect and we can develop. That's the good part of it. One of the things we found out that is it's very difficult, at least in Holland, in the school system, for children to get bored. We don't like children to get bored. So what we found out when the class went to the school, after a few days that they went there, the children came to the teacher and said, "Oh, teacher, I'm so bored. It's the same work. We have to do the stables again, and we have to do the garden, the same work as we did yesterday." And I found out that if in Holland a child says to a teacher, "I'm bored," then the teacher doesn't hear the words, "I'm bored." The teacher hears, "Oh, I'm a bad teacher." And what the teacher does in Holland is to entertain the child, to make the work more attractive. And we said to the teachers, hold back your interventions, because it's good for children to be bored, and it's okay, they may be bored, and it's not your problem if it even is a problem. So you can ask the children when you're bored, what can you do to be less bored or to be more enthusiastic? We focus on the positive experience and broaden and deepen them for ourselves and also for the children. We don't make any distinction between an adult and a child. We create connecting and integrating learning moments during farm school. And that means that we abandon information and knowledge-based and cognitive learning. I will explain it later. There's also no difference for us for children with special needs or normal children. And we think that all children and all people have two basic drives. They strive to reaffirm themselves, and simultaneously they search for unity and contact with surroundings and or someone else. And we think that experiences of connectedness are the stepping stone to a basic attitude of connectedness. And we found out that human beings are also nature. We think it's most important for children to build up their own identity, their own personality, and therefore as I thought, we were looking for a language in which we could found it, and we found it with Howard Gardner, who speaks of multiple intelligences. And And most of them will speak for themselves. Yeah, intelligence is the ability to solve problems or to make products that are of use in one or more cultures. There are children and people who have a naturalist intelligence. They love nature, they're fascinated by nature. They are children who have a bodily kinesthetic intelligence. They love to use their body. And when we started the farm school, we thought it's these kind of children with a naturalistic and a bodily kinesthetic intelligence who would love to go to the farm and learn a lot, because that's not the intelligence you use when you're sitting in a classroom, which often looks like a boring office. But what we find out is that actually all children love to go to the farm. So also children with a verbal linguistic intelligence. Here you see what they can do. The children who have a verbal and linguistic intelligence, they often are used as a journalist. They report on the website of the school what they have done. But also children are fascinated by the new words they learn on a farm. There are lots of new words on a farm. And what we do is that we write them on a blackboard. Children who are on the farm and a day at the farm and they hear a word they don't know, we write them on the blackboard, and at the end of the day the teacher or the farmer comes and says, hey, what words have you heard, what words are new for you? There's this spatial visual intelligence. Children can build everything on a farm, building an animal hotel or making scarecrows. That's a logic mathematical intelligence. What we learn farmers and what we learn teachers is to hold back. So if you want to build a fence, you can explain to children how you build a fence and how you must do it, but you can also say, well, here are piles of what do you need to build a fence. You need piles, you need thread. Well, how can you arrange that this fence will work? And let the children find it out themselves. There are children with musical intelligence. They love to make music, sing songs. One of the things we do with children who get bored is asking children who get bored, from what can you do to make the work more nice and that you are enjoying it more. There were children who asked the teacher, may we sing a song while working? Yes, on the farm school you may sing a song while working. It's not always very effective in the classroom. Then there are children with interpersonal intelligence. There are children who love to be on their own and who learn a lot by self-reflection. We found out that it's for teachers and also for farmers, it's a difficult group, because teachers would say, oh, Ronald, it's fantastic, the farm school, but there are some children who are not joining in. And I always say, everyone joins in, but everyone joins in their own way. So I said to teacher, it's a pity that you judge these children. For me, I always say judgment is a tragic or dramatic description of reality. You miss some points. And what I did ask some teachers to go and sit aside of a child who seems not to be joining in, and start a conversation. Then most of the teachers found out that these children had, in the first part of the work they had done, experienced so a lot that they were reflecting on it and getting new ideas. There's little more problem with the interpersonal intelligence. We all love children to work together. We are working on connectedness also on the farm school, and we do it in different ways. We work on a connection between school and a farm. And this is the first school who started in Zutphen in the Netherlands. and the farm where they still go. Classes are going there for 12 years now. And we are looking together with what the schools want and what the farm wants on the farm, to the farm in which the farm school will end up. So it depends on the identity of the school, and it depends on the identity of the farm. We want to connect the outdoor and place-based education and the education in school. So, for example, a few months ago, a teacher from a school for special needs came to me, or he phoned me, and he told me through the phone, Ronald, the farm school isn't working that good as you tell it. Because at the farm school, the children can measure the perimeter of a plot, but when we are at school, the children can't measure the perimeter. So I immediately said, so, well, then I think the farm school is working all right and school is not working very well. But we came together and thought, well, how can we help these children? But actually, how can we help the teacher so that he can help the children what they learn in practice in school to also learn it on the farm, to also learn it at school. So what we, and it's just trial and error what we do, is I suggested him to make a picture of a plot on the farm where the children could measure the perimeter, then draw the width and the length on it and project it on a digital blackboard. They had a digital blackboard, and then he projected the photo of the plot with the width and the length, and then he took away the picture. And that was really helpful for the children to learn the mathematics. There are several ways in which we want to connect the inside learning and the outside learning. What wonders me most about education is, and all schools, types of schools has it, that we fragmentize every part of life, and we make it a school issue, whether it be math or language, geography, history, music, physical education, social, personal, health education. At the farm school, it all comes together as one. Most schools in Holland, when I was young, every school in Holland would have evenings for parents. During the last decades, there are very few schools who organize a parents' evening, and the reason that they don't do it anymore is because parents don't show up. Parents are too busy. Parents are not interested in what's going on in school. Before we start farm school with school, we always say we want you to hold a parents' meeting. And most schools say, well, no, that doesn't work. I can tell you, when the theme is farm school, most parents come to the parent meeting. We need parents to go to the farm, because the children go, in Holland, they go by bike. And also on the farm, the parents help. On most schools, it's no problem to get parents. There are all kinds of types of schools, schools in little villages, in small towns, and even in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Utrecht, the big cities in Holland. Parents go. This is how a day at the farm school looks like. We want the children to bike to the farm, or at least we want them to move to the farm. So if parents and teachers think it's too difficult and too dangerous to drive a bike, and they want to go by car, then we advise them to let the children step out of the car 1 kilometer before they arrive at the farm. Because schools who brought the children by car to the farm, they had more difficulty. It was more difficult for the children to step in the farm, and it was much easier when they walked. Only if it only was a kilometer, it was okay. So children react in a different way when they are brought to the farm by car, or whether they walk or bike. What's important is that the farmers tell the children what happened. They go to the farm one day in a week during 25 weeks. So it's important for the farmers to tell the children what happens in the week that the children were not there. How many calves were born? What has he harvested? What goes on the farm? How's the family life on the farm? How's the grandfather of the children of the farm? Then they go to work in groups. We have a pause and children have something to eat. Parents find out that children eat more and drink more when they're on the farm than on a regular day at school. Afterwards we have the second round of work, and then the cleanup and the gathering and going back to school. At school we think it's important that the children reflect on what they have learned. Reflection is an important part of what we do. We do it at the farm, and reflection is also just to look back. Hey, what did we do? What did we achieve? What went good? Where was I enthusiastic? But also at schools, it's important to reflect on what you did. We advise teachers to let the children write and draw paintings in the logbook. And answer questions, well, what did you do today? When were you excited? And we say, and that in reflecting, the learning is harvested. Most important for teachers is how do we test what the children have learned on farm school. Some teachers made their own tests. How many milk does a cow give each day? And children had to answer it, but we thought it would be better to have another way of evaluating what the children learned. What we do is that we let children, together with the farmers, brainstorm about what is a good assistant farmer, what should the assistant farmer, so what should the children be able to do. And we make a top 3 out of it. And then we let the children some self-assessment. So in which way do they think that they are a good assistant farmer? In which way that's the top, what can I do properly? And the tip, what can I learn? And then they make their own program, what they want to learn. We also put in some co-assessment, and that's that the farmer also gives tops and tips for the children. It's the most impressive part of the farm school. That the farmer and his wife, who are great authorities for the children, and they think about the children, and they see the children, and they give them well, this part you're really good, this part you can develop. The last part of the reflection and the evaluation is that we want for the children to make a masterpiece when they close the 25 weeks on the farm school. And that's that they perform a special task. We developed a few different programs. We have the farm school. The classes visit a farm during 15 to 25 days during the year. A lot of schools did want to get acquainted with farm school possibility and the possibilities of farm-based education. So we developed a farm atelier, so that it's more for the teachers, that they come to know what are the possibilities. In Dutch, for the Flanders and the Dutchmen, we have the groene gezonde gemeenschappen, the green healthy societies, communities. That's a program we run in the cities in Holland, where we have a program for the children, but also a program for their parents. And there are a lot of parents and children participating who live in the multicultural districts in the city. And we lately developed an intervention class, because there are a lot of children in Holland, at least, who threaten to drop out of school. And it seems that learning on a farm helps them to develop them in their learning, and that they can go back to school. That's what I wanted to tell you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? There's a possibility for questions first, or? Yeah? Okay.
Can somebody translate what I...
Ja.
Het is volgende, bij ons in Vlaanderen moeten de eindtermen behaald worden. Ik weet niet of dat in Nederland ook zo is.
Ja.
Maar voldoen jullie daaraan?
Ja. The lady asked, wat zijn eindtermen? Weet jij het?
Op het einde van het zesde leerjaar is dat dus
The government sets some guidelines of what children need to learn. So how is it possible? Yeah, the curriculum and what are the main goals, and they have to achieve during one year in class. And the question is, how does it fit in? How does a farm school fit in? That was the most important question of all directors of the schools, because they are very afraid about what's called education inspection in Holland. Dus what we did is that we looked at all the different activities and all the different work that is done on the farms, and then we connected it to the different aims that the government says that the children should learn. And there are a lot, everything fits in. There's on our website, you can read Dutch. On our website, www.Boerderijschool, is a whole list of activities and the goals that the Dutch government set, and it can't be much different from Belgium. I think you can look at it, because you have to use a lot of competencies when you are cleaning a barn. You have to use a lot of competencies when you have your own garden and you grow your own vegetables. You have to use math. You have to use language. You have everything you have to use just to work on a farm.
Do you see a similar model in operation in any of the other member states of the EU? Spain or somewhere?
There are some. There are also, at least my colleague will talk about it, and in Holland there also are a few farm schools in Holland where children go to a farm every day, and the school is integrated in the farm.
Shall we show one image of that? You had one slide with the school like this, where the school is on the farm.
No, we don't have that. No. And for example, in Germany, but also I think in Belgium, there are a lot of farms who receive the school classes during 1 week. So that's the most common form in which farm-based education is presented. Also in America, there are a lot of weeks.
In France, I think other countries they call them classe verte in France, but this is occasional. They have different ecosystems.
We think it's important for children to come back, and we also want children to do the same work, almost the same work, so that they learn what it needs before you get something to eat. And I'm always very impressed by what people tell me about their experience spontaneously, so that I don't ask anything, but when I come somewhere and people start to tell me, and parents start to tell me from, oh, Mr. Heusschen, I'm so glad that my child goes to the farm school, and since he goes to the farm school, I have no arguing at home about work that needs to be done. My child understands that you need to do something to get things done. So we don't have any problem at home anymore about doing the dishes or cleaning the table.
How did this project start? Did you start?
I started it because of my daughter.
So you had the idea, but you read. So, I mean, how did you get the ideas about such?
It just fell in when I talked to the teacher about the problem we had as a parents. I said, "Why don't we go to a farm?" And I didn't even mean it 100% seriously. But then I was amazed. He said, "Oh, Ronald, that's a good idea."
And so then you set this program with one, it's basically half a day in the farm and half a day back at school reflecting on the experience. And then this is one school, the school of your daughter, but then with other schools.
Other schools,
inspire.
Now there are 45 schools who do it like this. And I do a lot of new projects, but it was really, it's the easiest project I work on, because it generates so much enthusiasm. So the children didn't even went one day to the farm, and the national television heard about it and they want to broadcast it, and we have been on all television programs in Holland. So that was a really success, and all parents are enthusiastic, teachers are enthusiastic, and children are enthusiastic. And yesterday in the pre-meeting, someone asked me, is that possible in Holland, that you do such a project? And I said, almost every teacher and every director in Holland asks me the same question. Is it possible? Can we do it in Holland? Yes, we can do it.
Does the farmer gets financial?
Yeah, we want them to get paid. Yeah, and it's
from
the school.
From Onderwijs?
Nee. Mostly we start with some subsidy, so that school can get acquainted, but they don't know what it is. But after 2 years, all schools paid it by themselves.
Not the children, the school.
The school? Yeah. In Holland there are a lot of projects with schools who visit the farm for one day. And there are plenty of projects that way, but they don't find schools who want to pay. When you come to a meeting of that kind of clubs, they say the biggest problem is that schools don't want to pay. And I say, schools will pay because they pay the farm school, and it's far more expensive than one day. And we usually start with a subsidy. So, but because schools don't know what a farm school will offer them. And all schools who started are still joining us. Because they see what the children learn, they see what the benefits are. And what teachers mostly spontaneously mention is that they see that the children are so enthusiastic in learning that they also want to learn more than what they see and experience at the farm. And most important is that they see that the children develop more respect, not only respect for nature, but also respect for each other, and seeing what each child can contribute in working on the farm. So the social atmosphere in a class really changed. And children, most children mention spontaneously, what we're doing is real. In class, we are pretending that we work together, but at the farm school, we have to work together because otherwise we can't do the work.
Okay, thank you for the moment. I would like to give the floor to Peter Altmeyer. Peter Altmeyer is a pediatric osteopath and works a lot with newborn children and their parents. He's running a therapeutic practice at the Freie School of Mölln in Germany. A very important part of the school concept is to cooperate with biodynamic farms. Please, Peter.
Yeah. Bring your baby because this I saw every day a lot of them, and they look at me and ask me, what will you do for me in the future? Yes, and so their eyes, their body language, attached me. So I began to work with children 30 years ago, so I can see how children's development changed in the last 30 years. It's changed dramatically. And so we had to do something, and they asked me to do a lot of things. And then there's also a poem from Tyler Desjardins. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love, and then, for a second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. And this is in a picture what we have to do. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb the tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. In a lot of cases you have dedicated it to some such. Every learning way is individual. There's no two ways who are the same. So we have to give them room to discover itself, and not to make children to objects, such as they need to be subjects. And they ask me, help me to be a subject, not an object. I have 5 grandchildren. So they ask me also. And now, and you can see after the year 2000, it's a dramatic change, and then 10 years ago it was dramatically. Newborn has changed a lot in the neurological organization, in the physical body organization from the beginning. What do you mean? There's a lot of things which happens. One is digital media, also during the gravity, that if mothers are connecting with digital media, that has an impact of the growing newborn. A lot of conception, on the fetus. You can feel it as yes, you can feel it. Yes, you can feel it, and also das heißt künstliche Befruchtung, conception, artificial conception have a huge impact. Caesarean section has a huge impact, and stress of the mother during. Huh?
This is not new.
Yeah.
This is not new. This has always been.
It's increasing. It's increasing. Also, dealing with fear during pregnancy. That's also. That's most things I knew at the moment, but that changes things dramatically. And also, one thing is it's also becoming more and more. You can see it on ultraschall. It's more. Children who began as twins or twins. So, and one of them get lost, and it's a huge impact of the vanished twin on the other. It's a huge impact. It's growing up. Schools now have to be parts of living rooms. And they have to be much more than earlier healing processes. It was always so that learning is had to be also healing, but nowadays it's much more. So this is, you can read. we tried to develop a new paradigm for schooling, also to look after social development. And so we connected us with G&H Center in Bhutan. G&H is cross-national happiness, because we think if we don't change our mind in social development, our schools will make our children much more ill. So we need to change this, and students have to take it from the first moment in another way. And we see what our main goal is: health. If we want to check whether our school is working, we have to look after health. After the health of students, parents, and teachers. It's a learning triangle. And that they must have a connection, and the health of them, of students, parents, and teachers, has to be seen. And also, if you look on farming programs, you have to see how is the health of the whole community. Second thing, happiness for the community, and main goal had to be a place of love, for the energies of love, and so fire in them. Basically, if you look at health, you have to see to physical, spiritual, you can say mental here, spiritual or the soul ability, strengths, sense of coherence, physical abilities in working, spiritual clarity and resilience. All these things you can receive on farms with this, and you have to look after this. All these things have to be addressed on this thing. And in G&H philosophy there are 4 pillars for the developing of happiness of a whole community. First is culture. And culture needs to be in a way that it make happiness in a cultural way, joy and freedom. And it needs to be based on values. So that you can develop a cultural identity. And on farms, the development of farming, older techniques that you can grow in, and enthusiastic men who would work with enthusiasm in this park. And it's a very important part of our schools is that seasonal festivals in connecting with farms is a huge amount of reconnecting cultural identity. So then sustainable relationships for the social part. Sustainable relationships have to be based on one thing, it's compassion. And on farms, there's a lot of possibilities to learn compassion with humans who work on this farm, the animals, with the earth, with the plants, and all the other things. And you learn it, and with your peers, you can work things together. Yes. So compassion is the real base for sustainable relationships and for all social processes. And you have seen the slide from Thomas Fuchs. One of the main increases is now the capacity of feeling empathy and compassion. So, but it's one of the most important goals in future, to have the ability to compassion. Economy is from the beginning the merging of skills and needs. This is the real ground of economy. How can I merge skills and needs? And so I have to look in the things we do on these farms. How can I merge skills and needs? And how can everybody can get the feeling, oh, I can my skills bring to the needs of the community. And that is a very important feeling for every child. And so we had to look at the things that they do merge skills and needs.
Can you give an example? What's the age of the children?
We began at the first class. Also they can, if they plant something, they have maybe a better example. We get on a big farm. We get a place. It was the old cottage garden, and because they have a lot of work with the
big fields.
So there was no one who had the time to look after this cottage garden. And now the students from class 1 to class 4 look after this cottage garden and make it nice and help, and vegetables and flowers, and so that's another heart of this farm now developing. There are children who are caring for this place.
And there are classrooms at the farm?
One classroom. Our classes go from the first class. We started 2 years ago with this project, and now all classes beginning from class 1 to class 4, going 2 times a month on this place, and so they can manage these things. And also they can by bus, going by also the way to the bus, the way with the bus as a group. You can learn such a lot of things in math and organizing some things, language. So as he said, you can speak it in French or in English. Also, you can learn a lot of things, and we need on displays no classroom. They came there, and every topic came out of the moment. So that's it. So and you can change a lot of topics.
Peter, we have only 2-3 minutes left because.
Das Leadership will ich gar nicht noch. Inclusion was this. Also, everybody can give his skills for the needs of the community and leadership. What is it? Loving kindness. I can develop my responsibility for the whole cosmos on farms. So,
thank you. I want to give the floor. If there's 2-3 more questions, then we should finish that you all still get a tea or coffee, and we have to the panel discussion will sharply start at 5. So 2-3 more questions. Somebody? Or
please. It's very interesting. I want to talk again about the project. Is this only one project?
This is
it's not a network.
No, it's 2 individual. Also we have this project with this. Another project is we started 20 years ago, and there's a school, and with the school a farm was building up, so that also the pupils had, or the students have everyday contact with this farm. It's 2 different models, but both work.
For instance, do you have contact with other schools from the region? Do they come to visit or this kind of exchanges?
Yes. We have also another part. We have a wilderness pedagogic. So we based also this agriculture or the farm pedagogic with wilderness pedagogic. So because this reconnection to nature is the base for all other development. And we create digital-free zones, oases, for a certain time, and so we see that they can better handle with digital advice. They have experiences in the analogic world, and they can love analogic world.
Peter, could you tell a little more about your interaction with Bhutan?
Yes.
Is it still going on?
It's going on, yes. We met the head, Dr. Tohawin, in Germany, and we spoke, and we discussed this project with him and developed this program, and he every year we have contact and spoke about this and develop it further. It's only the first goal, but it's work in a strong way. This picture, this inner picture is working on all structures in our school. This is a mandala, and so working in all structures.
Okay, maybe you have seen that in the panel discussion now there is no representative actually here of our group. Yeah, and that's a pity, because I think also Professor Fuchs, I took notes that he said one of the best things we can do for the children is renaturalization of childhood, jointly playing outdoors. Yeah. And that's exactly what these 2 gentlemen have realized for the children. So actually one of them should be on the panel, but it was not forgotten. And so maybe to close, where would you see, let's say in 20 or 30 years from now on, the development? How do you think, how many farm schools will exist? Will this be a common practice in your countries, or will you still be a minority? What is your opinion?
My opinion is it will grow up. There's no other way. There is no other way, and I think people will develop this goal. I think.
Also your opinion?
Yeah, I think so also, because for example at the farm school they're also joining schools for children with special needs. And the teachers who go to the farm school with their class of children, all with, I think at least they have 3 diagnoses in which they do not function. And what teachers report me is that when the children with special needs come to the farm, they don't show the behavior for which they were diagnosed. So children who are hyperactive, they are not. It's no problem at the farm, and they don't show that much hyperactivity. Children who are in the autism spectrum are more open on a farm. So that's, I think, and in Holland there's still more children who threaten to fall out of school.
Yes.
And at the farm school, there's no problem. Everybody can join in. So I think it will be growing, but it may last some time.
We have the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just ask one quick question? I can hear you're growing really from the young children all the way up along. Have you any experience of just 15 to 17, these older teenagers working with them?
Yes, in the first school I have followed, we have they have projects with scientific work in this age. Yeah. And seed
multiplication for maintaining all varieties, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining this workshop. Unfortunately, too little time to discuss lots, but a beginning.
But really impressive. Really impressive what you're doing. I have to say, it's lovely to hear.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.